Hello everyone. So back again today for another tutorial, and this time the focus is on Bleass Filter. But as I like doing, I'm going to look at a bunch of apps at the same time. Look at a few apps that I've been playing with as I play around with this thing. So first thing we've got here is apeSoft's lovely electric vintage, which I did a tutorial on just a few days ago. So you can see that notes are being triggered, but not by me. I'm not doing a thing. I'm using Polyphase, which is a really nice generative sequencer. Only problem with Polyphase is that it's not an audio unit and it uses MIDI clock, which I find an absolute pain in the ass. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say. So I'm not even using the MIDI clock here because I had so many problems setting it up today. I have been able to set it up in the past, but it's just kind of doing its own thing. But luckily, because we're doing something jazzy, it actually sounds fine, sort of whatever happens. Now, okay, so we got an instance of Bleass Filter on the electric piano there. And perhaps you can see that the rate button is moving around. That is because I am modulating that with midiLFOs by Art Kerns, great little app. Because this Bleass Filter doesn't have a modulation option, so I'm using this as a little shortcut when I want to just change things up a little bit without actually manually going in and playing around with the rate and stuff. But this midiLFOs will only affect that if the LFO is on free, not synced mode. Okay. Turn that down a little bit. I just want this very subtle. So later I'm going to go into this filter in detail. But first I want to take a look at what we've got going on in this setup here. So let's look at the routing. So this is getting MIDI from Rosetta Scalar, which is over here and which I'm using to transpose the MIDI while keeping it inside the correct scale and key. Very useful app. Okay, what is Scalar getting its MIDI from? It's getting it from midiGATEs. midiGATEs is getting it from AUM Destination, which is getting it from Polyphase. Okay. So, midiGATEs I went into in the piano motifs tutorial. I've got a few codes for this today and a few codes for Bleass Filter to give away. So look at the comment section, look at the pinned comment and see the instructions there if you would like to win a code for one of these apps. This is just a very handy way on the fly for me to adjust the amount of notes going on. It's especially helpful because Polyphase is not AU. I mean, I can go into Polyphase and I can, reduce the number of active lines that are producing the melody. We can do a lot over here to affect the randomization of all of these. So we definitely don't need midiGATEs in this setup, but it is useful. And I really enjoy this interface. Again, check out the piano motifs tutorial if you want to learn more. Okay, so that's that. What we got here? Lumbeat, jazz drummer. These apps sound so good. Again, it's a real pity that they are not audio units. I really hope that is coming soon. Got a little bit of filter on this as well, actually. Just giving it a little bit of an edge. Blue Mangoo binaural location. You can play around with your locations. The drums generally better to not really pan them much, but here I'm just setting them slightly in the front of the sound stage. Over here we have apeSoft. See that I'm using binaural location to put that slightly behind. You won't notice this unless you're wearing headphones. Got reamp here, giving this a bit of a kick. Nice bit of warmth, bit of a bite. Got a bit of red rock sound, just very subtle. A few things on the filter. Sorry, on the EQ for both of these. Very, very minimal. Over here, Jubal Flute by Embertone, which I've been playing with Velocity Keyboard by Blue Mangoo. Got a little bit of wove, adding a bit more tremolo, even though it does have a slight tremolo of its own. Got atmosphere cloud reverb here. Talked about that also in recent videos. FAC Maxima is making it a little bit louder, helping it to stand out in the mix. Again, got a little bit of binaural action here. Let's just pan it off to the right a little bit. So you can see I can do pitch bends with this. This is a brilliant, brilliant app. If I had discovered this before I bought my Rolly Seaboards, I really think I wouldn't have bought them, because this keyboard is MPE and you can play it pretty well on the iPad screen. It would have saved me hundreds of pounds. Not to mention all the headaches of my Rolly software's stuck notes and blah blah blah. That is really a product that could have been so great but has not really been fully realized. So let me just get a little bitch about Rolly in there. Okay, so one cool thing here also is I'm using the Velocity Filter app, also by Blue Mangoo, because Velocity Keyboard is velocity responsive. You see, I can play very softly or much harder. But actually, Jubal Flute, for whatever reason, and this applies to some synths and instruments, just doesn't really respond to velocity. You see, even if I press softly here, I'm not getting soft sounds. It's all the same. So I can actually use Velocity Filter to make this velocity sensitive, which is brilliant. I don't need to use this app very often, but it's a lifesaver. when it comes to certain apps that don't have this velocity sensitivity. Now, to point out about routing, you see that Velocity Keyboard has to be routed into Velocity Filter and into Jubal Flute. Very useful app. Over here I got a bit of Playbeat with a sample from, let me see. Yeah, Zvon. So one of these Zvon sample packs. So I've used this guy's sample packs before. He very kindly actually sent me an email earlier today and just gifted me this massive sample pack with tons of great old samples from old sci-fi horror movies and stuff like that. Thanks a lot, man. Daniel, right? Yeah, cheers, Daniel. So, got one of those loaded in. Hang on, how do I get out here? Cancel, right? Okay, so I just got one of these loaded, and I've got the speed here fairly slow, so it's not being triggered too often. And I'm putting it through attack softener to take out a bit of the attack to make it a little bit more illegible. There was an interesting thread in the audio bus forum about how to make vocal samples barely legible, and that got me thinking about using this. So thanks to world's second best GeoShredder for starting that thread. Really nice thought-provoking thread. I'm putting it through Kai Aras's RE1 tape delay, and even Titus crystals actually, and a little bit of perforator, but quite subtle because I haven't got it up fully wet, but it's just giving a slight little bit of gating to it, again just to turn it more into a sound effect. Playbeat has crashed on me so many times during this session as I've been playing around this afternoon, so I hope it's not going to do that now. I've been really having a bad day with apps behaving badly. One of the hazards of iOS music making, I hear you say. Yep. Okay. So I'm just gonna turn down the drums and bass. I'm gonna keep them in the background. I'm gonna mute this vocal sample. And I'm gonna look at Bleass Filter. So, what do we have here? A gain knob, so we can get a nice kind of analog clipping if we want to boost the incoming signal. But I think we really don't need that because this has got tons of that already. So, really not necessary. Here we have an envelope follower. I'm just going to take the drums down for a second. I'm also going to turn off midiLFOs. Okay, so we've got an envelope follower. What does that mean? That basically means that the opening and closing of the filter will be synced in some way to the amplitude of the incoming signal. So when we have positive values here, the filter is going to be triggered more by louder sounds. And here it'll have the opposite effect in the negative values. So this is one thing we can play around with. And this is the thing that has been added in the new update, having the VU meter here, which is actually very useful for dialing things in. Really useful. So thanks to Bleass for updating their apps. And let's say we get something like this that's a little bit too pumpy. We can sort of play around with the sensitivity knob. So basically we're going to play around with these to get something that's going to sound right for what we're looking for. It's going to really vary depending on the sound. Or of course we can just turn the envelope off. And we can control the attack and release of the filter envelope. Okay, so what do we got here? Auto pan. Bit much, right? So first thing we can do is take the amount down. Second, change the LFO waveform. Let's try a sine wave. Let's put the rate to free. Let's bring it down something slower. Here we have the stereo panning. It's a bit too extreme maybe. Let's tone it down a bit. So we have this whole very wide panning, and here it's just centrally positioned. The offset will change the start position of the waveform, but this only works in sync mode. So we have different waveforms: sine, triangle. Let's put the amount up so you can hear clearly the differences. Obviously the sine is more flowing. Sawtooth. So we get this very rhythmic effect, right, with the abrupt change of waveform state. Inverted sawtooth, square, and random. So obviously you need to play around and find what's going to be work for the sound that you're using at any moment. I love how slow the rates can go on the LFO. It can go down to 16 seconds. So many apps do not have slow enough waveforms. It really annoys me. Okay, but here we're getting complete cutouts, so maybe we bring the amount down. And then we get something less extreme. Let's try a free sync rate. Change the waveform, change the amount. Maybe change the actual filter. here we have our different filter types, and we can choose one or two filters. So the LFO is modulating stuff going on over here, but obviously we're not seeing that here. You see here. Nice. This would be a good one to modulate. I really need to bring these two down just while we're listening to the filter. Now, when I click this next one, low distortion, it might be a bit much because we've already got distortion on the Rhodes sound here. With this we can, fade things in and out. And we can adjust the Q by dragging up peak. Realized actually that there's nowhere in the audio unit of this itself to save presets. You have to do it in your host. Worth pointing out. This one sounds like it could do with a bit of a faster rate. Nice. I like this too. Just widen it a little bit, maybe. See, this becomes really nice when we bring the amount down. We bring the Q down a little bit. I like these panning ones. Again, if it's a bit much, we can just narrow the stereo. I like this. This one's beautiful. The random ones actually sound okay if you bring the amount down. Obviously they're going to sound great with some things, but with this sort of soft jazzy vibe here, it's going to be hard to pull off with too high an amount. Bit of sort of auto wah thing here. So let's see. Just bring it back to this and have a little noodle around. Everybody, if you've enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't, write a comment. Got a very nice active comment section. Had some great comments actually on the last apeSoft tutorial. Thanks a lot to Enrique, for example, who really wrote a ton of brilliant comments. Roy Orr as well. Thanks, guys. Really enjoy the comment section. Okay, you can see here that iBassist has crashed. Again, you know, the perils of inter-app audio. I'm not finding this very reliable, unfortunately. Look, Playbeat has crashed. Another app that I've been having a lot of problems with. This is iOS. Bit of a pain in the ass at times. Got a bit too much tremolo. Oh, this is not actually on. It's just Jubal Flute itself. So thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed this. See you in the next video.